London is not a beautiful city. Under the soot that covers its buildings is a teeming mass of 4 million souls trying to survive, mostly off of each other. You see it in the paper every day. Thankfully, we have the London Times to keep us informed of all these troubling activities with an unbiased eye and razor-sharp accuracy. We find this publication to be of invaluable assistance in our investigations, and I'm sure you will as well. Among the forces of evil which run rampant in this city, there are also, thankfully, two groups of individuals who will aid us in our cause. As we do, they attempt to right wrongs and restore harmony and civility to the streets of London. The first of these groups is a ragtag association of young ruffians. I call them the Baker Street Irregulars. Don't let them fool you. They may be scruffy and ill-bred, but they are on the right side of the law. They can go everywhere, see everything, and overhear everyone. They are my eyes and ears in the streets of London, unquestionably a tremendous asset in our work. They will help us in our investigations if they can. The other group is a far more civilized collection of gentlemen and institutions. I call them the Baker Street Regulars. They, too, will be extremely useful in our work. At the start of any investigation, do keep in mind that it is a capital mistake to theorize before one has data. Unwittingly, one begins to twist facts to suit theories instead of theories to suit facts. The people and places to whom I will now introduce you will help us to collect the facts. May we use them wisely. Come, the game's afoot.
I believe the inspector may have an interesting case for us, Holmes.
I told you, Watson, I am tormented by a migraine and I need to take my cure.
I'll take only a moment of your time, Mr. Holmes.
Go on then, Inspector, but make a stab at the essence, please.
All right. A Mr. Melvin Tuttle, a junior partner with the law firm of Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright, dropped dead of a heart attack yesterday. We believe it was poison.
Oh, yes, Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright is one of the most prestigious law firms in London.
Pray let him continue, Watson.
You may want to know that I have spoken with the partners. Sir Sidney Sloane says he never arrives before noon. Mr. Swarthmore was at his morning appointment at Bell's Baths, and curiously enough, Mr. Cartwright began an unscheduled and indefinite leave of absence just 2 days before.
My temples are splitting, Inspector. Motive?
Another solicitor by the name of Harold Diggs was passed over for promotion 3 months ago. The position went to Mr. Tuttle. Diggs felt he was far more qualified, and so he resigned.
Ah, the jealous colleague. Certainly a motive for murder.
Is there anything else, Inspector?
I would suggest picking up a copy of the Morning Times. And if you're interested, I've got the contents of Tuttle's desk down at the yard.
Thank you, Inspector. Now, if I may work on my recovery in peace.
I spoke with Ellis, Holmes. He says he's drawing a blank on this one.
Pity.
I suppose everyone would say that Melvin Tuttle was immensely charming. Perfect manners, perfect dresser, perfectly eager to please. Why, every young woman he met was absolutely swept away by him. He was just perfect.
And what would you say, Mrs. Porter?
I would say he was perfectly nauseating. The man was more calculating than a mathematics table.
Why do you suppose Mr. Tuttle was raised to the executive level?
That baffles me more than life itself. But I do know that Mr. Swarthmore and Mr. Cartwright would have jointly made that decision. If anyone had asked my opinion, which of course they never do, I would have recommended promoting Mr. Diggs. He was an excellent solicitor who produced outstanding work for over 11 years.
Am I to assume that Mr. Tuttle's work wasn't up to snuff?
No, he was industrious, but thoroughly unexceptional.
How did Diggs and Mr. Tuttle get along?
Well, their relationship was quite strained. But who can blame poor Mr. Diggs being passed over for that promotion and then... no, I shouldn't gossip.
Scuttlebutt is perfectly acceptable under the circumstances, Mrs. Porter.
Well, Mr. Diggs was in love with Miss Spring, who was in love with Melvin Tuttle, who was in love with every woman, even, I believe, Mrs. Cartwright.
Mrs. Whitney Cartwright?
Yes. He used to escort her to various society functions at the request of Mr. Cartwright. In fact, just yesterday I posted a letter to her from Mr. Tuttle.
Did you post anything else of interest?
No, just contracts, contracts, contracts. 5 to textile firms in Germany, 1 to August Heathcliff, 4 to textile firms in Manchester. It was a most hectic day, not even counting Mr. Tuttle's dropping over.
Mr. Heathcliff, I understand that Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright has been preparing contracts for your textile business.
What's going on here? Those contracts were to be kept highly confidential.
And they shall continue to be, sir. I'm only interested in how the firm handled the negotiating and execution.
Well, suppose there's no harm in that. Some 8 months ago, Sir Sidney Sloane undertook the negotiations. Mr. Cartwright drew up the contracts. This whole thing surrounds a top-secret textile merger, which is more than I should mention.
My lips are buttoned.
I would appreciate that, Dr. Watson. I dealt exclusively with Mr. Cartwright throughout the contract stage. Mr. Swarthmore stepped in at the final hour, which I did find a bit surprising. His alterations, however, had no material effect on the final documents. That contract, as I said, is highly confidential. I would appreciate it if you did not read it.
I have no intention of reading it, sir. But I would like to keep the envelope, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Mr. Holmes adores scented stationery. My word, someone was looking for something.
And it appears that perhaps they didn't find it.
Look, Holmes, correspondence from Mrs. Cartwright, dated 22 June. Darling, I cannot believe that it is over. Please, please come to see me. I love you beyond all caring, Fay. Heavens to mercy.
What are those other letters, Watson?
They all have the same return address, 25 Chichester Street, SW, from someone with the initial VM. They seem to be dated back as far as mid-December.
Read one, Watson, will you?
Certainly. This one's dated 10 March. Your high spirits Sunday give me great hope. I believe in you and know that you will one day overcome Father's objections. But if it should take longer than you would desire, know that I will wait for you. I will wait for you forever. Ginny. Good heavens, Holmes. I do believe young Tuttle was just a stud horse in disguise.
Tuttle, that popinjay!
Papa, please!
Virginia, that will be quite enough. Tuttle had the unmitigated gall to ask for my daughter's hand in marriage, and I forbade her to see him. She has had utterly no contact with him since. That I can assure you.
That's not true!
You defied my orders? How dare you? Young lady, have a good mind to take...
Mr. Monroe, please. Let your daughter speak.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Mel and I met almost every Sunday in St. James Park and corresponded frequently. As soon as he had attained the position my father required, we were to be married. He was made a junior partner only last week. I think this might be important to you, sir.
Thank you, Miss Monroe. Most intriguing.
Poor Mr. Tuttle. Did you know I was one of the last living souls to spend time with him? Well, Mr. Tuttle, Mr. Swarthmore and I were working late on contracts, you see. Well, that's why I took the day off. When I found out about the news, I was shocked. Shocked!
What contracts were you working on, Miss Walker?
Oh, I wouldn't know, would I? I mean, all I do is type. Never read a word of it. No, Mr. Tuttle, or should I say poor Mr. Tuttle, asked me to stay late to help with some last-minute revising. Well, Mr. Swarthmore chipped in and we got the job done.
Where were the contracts going?
Oh, I wouldn't know, would I? No, well, it seems a bit unusual, but Mr. Swarthmore typed the envelopes himself and handed them directly to Mr. Tuttle. The whole thing was very hush, you see.
You were there alone with Mr. Swarthmore and Mr. Tuttle?
Oh, yes. Imagine me alone with those two handsome men. Of course, Mr. Swarthmore is a bit intimidating, but he is a bachelor.
Did anyone else enter while you were there?
No. And then we left at 11:15 on the dot. Well, I know because Mr. Tuttle made a joke about my returning home before midnight so I wouldn't turn into a pumpkin. He is, or should I say, was, a very charming man. Poor Mr. Tuttle.
Melvin Tuttle made a rapid rise in our firm simply because he was qualified to do the job. We shall all miss him.
Was it you who made the recommendation to promote him?
No, Mr. Cartwright did.
Well, why was Mr. Tuttle given a junior partnership over Mr. Diggs?
Diggs proved unsatisfactory. Tuttle showed initiative, spirit, and a good sense of judgment.
When did you last see Tuttle?
We worked together the evening before his death to complete some important contracts.
Did you provide your assistance at his request?
No. Sir Sidney asked me to lend a hand when Mr. Cartwright quite inexplicably left the office.
Can you shed any light on what caused him to leave so suddenly?
No, not in the least.
Gin.
Well. Scotland Yard, busy as usual, I see.
Well, what we was doing was, we were... making sure the desks don't walk away.
And I can see they haven't, constables.
Don't miss a trick now, do you, Mr. Holmes? Besides, anything you would have found here of interest, the inspector already sent on its way.
It is terrible, simply terrible. He was such a fine young man. Consider me completely at your disposal, sir.
Thank you, Sir Sidney. I am interested in Mr. Tuttle's promotions within the firm.
Well, Swarthmore and Cartwright were responsible for those. You see, some 3 years ago, I partially retired from the firm.
Do you know if Mr. Tuttle was qualified for the job?
Oh, I trust Whitney and Henry's judgment implicitly.
Do you know much about the contracts Mr. Tuttle was working on?
Only the Heathcliff account. August Heathcliff, a prominent textile manufacturer. He asked me to conduct negotiations on an international merger. And when the preliminary work was completed, I turned things over to Mr. Cartwright. Tuttle assisted him.
I understand Mr. Cartwright left the firm's offices quite suddenly on Tuesday.
Yes, evidently for personal reasons. Well, I was aware that the Heathcliff contracts were due to leave by the Morning Post, so I did talk to Tuttle about them. And he told me that he'd have no problem meeting the deadline because Miss Walker had agreed to stay late and assist him. Swarthmore appeared shortly after that and volunteered to work with them as well. Everything seemed to be in hand.
Tell me about your meeting with Mr. Diggs on the day of his resignation.
Harold Diggs was a fine, experienced solicitor of very high caliber, and he was quite insulted that the promotion went to Tuttle.
Do you find the choice odd?
Well, as I've explained, it was not my decision.
Did Mr. Diggs threaten you or Mr. Tuttle in any way?
No, heavens, no. Diggs was angry, but the thought of him threatening anybody is thoroughly ludicrous.
When Melvin Tuttle was promoted to junior partner and I was not, it was the final insult. He had only been there but 2 years. My work, I say quite immodestly, was superior. Clearly, my prospects with the firm were limited, so I resigned.
Did you dislike Mr. Tuttle for only professional reasons?
No, it was much more personal. I hold Miss Spring in high regard, and it pained me to see her so taken in by his glibness.
Perhaps you should have tried to woo her with your beautiful roses.
I tried that, sir, to no avail.
I arrived at the building a little before 9 o'clock yesterday morning. Mrs. Porter and I rode the lift together to the 4th floor. Mr. Tutt.
There, Miss Spring. I know how difficult this must be.
Melvin was in his office. While Mrs. Porter made tea, I went in to see him.
It sounds as if your relationship with Mr. Tuttle was more than professional.
We'd been seeing each other for 8 months, but he ended it last week. I was going to return this little gold locket that he gave me, but he wouldn't hear of it. Now it's all I have left.
Did he tell you why he ended it?
He'd fallen in love with another woman.
What did you do after you saw him?
Wept a bit. Then returned to my desk where I remained there until...
Oh, buck up, Miss Spring. Sometimes a relationship is what happens when two people are waiting for something better to come along. You'll have your day. I just know you will. Mrs. Cartwright? Mrs. Cartwright?
I'm sorry. I've had such a difficult time these past days. Tuesday I came home to discover this.
I received a note at the office. I know everything. I did not know I could have been so blind. If you love him, I will not stand in your way. Whitney. Oh, my.
And my husband was gone. I have not seen him since. He must have found out about Mr. Tuttle and me. It's ironic, but Mr. Tuttle broke off the affair 2.5 months ago when he told me he was in love with another woman. I tried to patch things up, but Melvin wouldn't hear of it. Do you think me dreadful to have done such a thing, Dr. Watson?
Why, no, I suppose.
My husband worked morning, noon, and night. I needed to be loved.
Yes, so, who do you suppose found it necessary to tell your husband about the affair?
I can't imagine, and why they would wait until after it was over to expose it leaves me baffled.
Have you any idea where I might find your husband?
I wish I did. I sent our butler to inquire at the Criterion Club, but I don't know for certain. If you do find him, Dr. Watson, promise me something.
Anything, Mrs. Cartwright, within reason.
Please, please tell him that I love him, and I swear I'll make it up to him.
Mr. Cartwright has been with us since yesterday, remaining in his room the entire time and consuming not much more than the decanters of whiskey we have sent to his room. I'd be careful going in to see him if I were you.
Mr. Cartwright, I've come to ask you some questions about the murder of Melvin Tuttle.
What did you say? The murder of Melvin Tuttle?
Yes. Can you tell me why you left the firm's offices so suddenly on Tuesday?
I received a note. It was very distressing. Everything she needs has Mrs. C. Furs and jewels and ever empty. While the husband works, the wife will play, and thus runs the world away. I was completely blind to it, of course. All the hints I'd seen but did not recognize became clear. I was so wrapped up in my work. I went home to speak with my wife, but she was out. The longer I waited, the less courage I had to face her. And I somehow ended up here. Does my wife know of Tuttle's death?
Yes. She said she loves you and will make it up to you.
Perhaps we can make it up to each other.
There must be someone to worry about my business transactions. I haven't the mind for it, so I have Mr. Swarthmore take care of everything. Do you suppose he's not doing a good job of it?
Mr. Metcalf, that remains to be seen.
My good Dr. Watson, what brings you here today?
Murder, I'm afraid. Melvin Tuttle of the firm Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright. And we understand they handle much of the museum's property holdings.
Yes, we've given Henry Swarthmore complete control of our investment trust, which has grown under his stewardship. We are so very blessed because he's a most capable man.
Well, Holmes, here are the contents of Tuttle's desk, just like I promised. A folder containing information on textile contracts, very tedious. 2 trust files with lists of properties, stocks and bonds, one for the British Museum and one for a Richard Mainhart. And a list of various properties that they owned at one time or another. Disraeli O'Brien's name's on top.
What's this? A key from Bell's Baths.
And 1 gold locket, which says, to VM with love, MT.
How sweet. Is there a label on the box?
Yes, J.W. Benson Limited.
Curious. Here's a bill for a room from the Knights Arms Hotel. From the amount of it, it appears to be a monthly rate.
Melvin Tuttle? He certainly was one with the ladies. Brought in a whole parade of lovelies. Not all at the same time, mind you. In fact, Mr. Tuttle used this place so often, he kept a chamber here.
My word. When did you last see him?
Been 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know why, but he gave up his room.
Mr. Swarthmore, Mr. Mainhart.
Swarthmore, you say?
Yes, Swarthmore.
Well, he delivers papers and I sign them. Terribly kind of him, for I rarely get out much, you see.
Yes, I can see.
What can I do for you, sir?
I'm investigating the murder of Melvin Tuttle.
I don't understand.
Mr. Henry Swarthmore is a member of this club, is he not?
Yes.
I understand he was here yesterday. Did he meet with anyone?
I never pry into my customers' private affairs.
Was Tuttle a member?
Yes. I'm afraid I have no more time for your questions. I'm a very busy man. Good day.
Now, you should have come to old Jack Jensen in the first place. Swarthmore met Mr. Livingston here yesterday morning.
Cedric Livingston, the builder?
That's him. He owns the place. He used to be the first mate on the Glenda sailing the China trade. I was shipmates with him. Back in '58, the captain met with an unfortunate accident, or so the story said. Mr. Livingston brought the Glenda through, and the owners gave him a fat reward and a captain's cut to boot. That's when he quits the sailor's life. Anyways, yesterday morning, Mr. Rake clears out Mr. Tuttle's locker and brought the stuff to his office. Mr. Swarthmore and Mr. Livingston was there waiting for a look-see.
So Swarthmore and Livingston are friends?
Thick as thieves.
What were they looking for?
Don't know. Didn't find it, though. Swarthmore was in a dither.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Thanks is lovely. A few bobs better.
Are you acquainted with Mr. Melvin Tuttle?
Tuttle. No. Oh, isn't he Swarthmore's associate? Yes, I suppose I may have met him once.
I assume you are a friend of Mr. Swarthmore's?
Hardly. I've done a bit of business with the firm. We've had several formal meetings and 2 or 3 business lunches. That's about the extent of it.
I haven't seen Mr. Tuttle in 2 months. For quite some time he would come in here almost every day on what I took to be his lunch hour.
In search of what?
Property transaction files. The list of the names of the owners of a given property lot and the dates on which that lot were transferred to another owner, along with the sale prices.
Why do you suppose he was interested in that?
He never said. I never asked.
My heavens, Holmes. The good doctor is off playing cricket.
Well, let's not malinger then, Watson. It's not that important.
I do hope my gout doesn't flare up today.
Well, if it does, you can treat it yourself. You are a physician.
But of course.
Mr. Tuttle was a very good customer. He bought dozens of gold-plated lockets, each time varying the inscription.
It's a small wonder how a man keeps that many women straight. What of the diamond locket he purchased?
He bought that last week. That one was solid gold, not plate. I believe he was finally getting serious about someone.
Oh, how lovely for him. And too late. Professor Murray?
Whitson! Holmes! What are you 2 young sleuths working on today?
The Melvin Tuttle case, and it's Holmes and Watson, sir.
That's what I said, didn't I? Now, the Yard delivered a whole pile of evidence for this one. Toffee, tea, tobacco, pipe.
Sounds like my breakfast this morning. Although right now I'd prefer some fish and chips.
What did you discover, HR?
Toffee. C12H22 oil 93%.
Layman's terms, did you discover any poison?
The toffee and the tobacco were merely toffee and tobacco. Now the tea contained the slightest trace, but more significantly, there was a higher concentration on the lip of the cup.
What about the pipe?
The tip of the stem.
What sort of poison is it, Professor?
Chinaberry, a paralyzing nerve poison. Just traces can stop the heart permanently. Smells faintly of lilac. But you might read up on it in a book at the London Library.
Where would one obtain such a poison, Professor?
One might strike up an acquaintance with a South Sea Aborigine.
Ah, it is not then readily available in London?
No.
Thank you, Professor, for your time.
How much time was it, gentlemen?
Here it is, Murray's Compendium of My Favorite Poisons.
Bewitching title, read on.
It says, Chinaberry, Melia azadera, is a tree of warm, temperate regions producing panicles of fragrant purple flowers, followed by pale yellow berry-like drupes about half an inch across. Sounds lovely, doesn't it?
Not half as lovely as solving this case, Watson.
Of course. The fleshy pulp of the fruit contains a paralyzing nerve poison. When distilled into its crystalline pure state and ingested, only 0.05 grams is enough to prove fatal to the most hearty of men. Heart action stops immediately and permanently. No known antidote exists. The presence of the poison can be detected by its faint smell reminiscent of lilac.
Old HR certainly knows his poisons.
Melvin Tuttle, you say?
Yes, he was a young solicitor with Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright.
Sorry to say, Holmes, but I'm afraid the only thing I can offer you on this one is a pint or three.
Shinwell, I will take you up on that the very moment we solve this case.
Evidently Paul Quinn is home today. He's come down with the hives.
Oh, most undignified.
Evidently Paul Quinn is home today. He's
Can't say if the pen is mightier than the sword, but most definitely is mightier than the scalpel. What can I do for you, Dr. Watson?
I would like to know what you and your scalpel discovered during the autopsy of Melvin Tuttle.
Yeah, let's see. Died of heart and respiratory failure, no disease present. I tested for many common poisons and could find no foreign substances. Of course, I know you realize many poisons are virtually undetectable unless you know what you're looking for.
Of course.
Say, Watson, I was going to run off and catch the cricket match. Care to join me?
Tempting, Sir Jasper, very tempting. Where might one procure Chinaberry?
Chinaberry? Oh, it's very rare. Why, I recall when I first started working here 40 years ago, we brought some in for a study and then disposed of it. Since that time, we have no record of it being brought into England. If you want to obtain some, it would have to be done illicitly. But I don't recommend it. It has a lovely name, but it's deadly poison.
I could talk about the social doings of Messrs. Sloane, Swarthmore and Cartwright, but who would want to listen? They're a dull crowd all round.
Bobby Pike.
Well, if you insist. Sir Sidney attends all the best social functions, even the stuffiest ones the Times refuses to cover. Henry Swarthmore is a confirmed bachelor who attends only those galas which are obligatory to the prestige of the firm. Whitney Cartwright is the forgotten man on the social scene. He habitually sends his wife, a very charming woman, in his stead. She is usually accompanied by one of the lesser members of the firm.
What about a Mr. Melvin Tuttle?
Most recently the steady escort of Mrs. Cartwright, which is highly unusual. You see, her previous escorts were rotated quite frequently. People were beginning to talk, in whispers, of course.
Were Mrs. Cartwright and Mr. Tuttle having an affair?
Alas, I can only speculate. If they were, they broke it off some 3 months ago. Since that time, Mrs. C has returned to the quiet rotation of office personnel. Actually, Tuttle always struck me as a bit of a social climber, which gives their liaison even more sinister connotations.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court stands in order. Good afternoon. I understand you've been investigating the murder of Melvin Tuttle. Truly a sordid affair. So tell me, who was the murderer? Please choose from either your notebook or the directory. Yes, indeed. Now tell the court how he murdered Mr. Tuttle. Absolutely correct. Now, why did Swarthmore murder Tuttle? Excellent deduction. Now tell us who was Swarthmore's accomplice. And again, you may choose from your notebook or your directory. You are correct. Now tell the court what role Mr. Livingston played in the murder of Melvin Tuttle. Fine job. Perhaps you should consider a teaching post at the Sherlock Holmes School of Deductive Reasoning. Thank you so much for solving the case. This court is recessed. Until next time, of course.
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. If we had been top-notch, we should have cracked this case in less points. I think I'll ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course. Another migraine coming on?
No, I'm merely celebrating the end of the case of the Solicitous Solicitor.
An early and tragic demise, wouldn't you agree, Holmes?
I suppose. But I found his rapid rise to be far more significant.
Whatever do you mean?
2.5 years from junior clerk to junior partner in one of the very best legal firms in London. And the man, as we discovered, was no genius. I was fascinated to understand the circumstances of his promotion.
Mrs. Cartwright?
Yes. That connection provided an interesting scenario. What began as a favor to Mr. Cartwright blossomed into an affair with his wife. Tuttle no doubt saw it as a golden opportunity for advancement and used his copious charms on her. Mrs. Cartwright, in turn, went to work on her husband, showering unstinting praise on Mr. Tuttle. Over a period of time, Mr. Cartwright, who thought the world of his wife, began to believe that a promotion was in order for Melvin Tuttle.
The perfect scenario for murder. Husband discovers truth, takes an unscheduled leave of absence, plans and commits the crime.
In another case, perhaps, but not in this one. You see, both Mr. Cartwright and Mr. Swarthmore were party to the decision to promote Tuttle. But why should Swarthmore decide in Tuttle's favor? What did Tuttle have on him?
What made you first suspect Swarthmore?
The envelopes.
The envelopes?
When we discovered that the chinaberry which poisoned Tuttle was found only in traces on the lip of the cup and the stem of the pipe, and even less in the tea and the tobacco, I was particularly interested in the fact that Mr. Swarthmore personally handed the contract envelopes to Tuttle for, shall we say, final licking.
A brilliant if devious plan.
Indeed. The murder weapon, as it were, was mailed away to be consigned to the nearest wastebasket. Unfortunately for Mr. Swarthmore, one was also posted locally. So I had the murderer and the method, but not the motive.
By the way, Holmes, wherever did Swarthmore come by something as rare as chinaberry?
That took a little imagination. And when I discovered it, it helped me to understand the motive. Cedric Livingston supplied the poison. More than likely, he brought it back from one of his sailing stints in the South Seas.
Why would he want to be a party to a murder?
Exactly. You see, the book that Virginia Monroe supplied brought it all into the light. Mr. Swarthmore was using his power of attorney over certain trust funds to undersell land to Mr. Livingston, who in turn either kept it for his own use or had Swarthmore sell back to other trusts at a handsome profit.
With, no doubt, both of them splitting the dividends.
No doubt. Tuttle evidently discovered the scheme, confronted Swarthmore, and was paid off with a promotion. Clearly, Swarthmore and Livingston could not live with the knowledge that Tuttle had unearthed their plot. So Swarthmore murdered him.
And just as the young cad had turned serious and finally found true love.
Yes, Watson. Love doth teach even asses to dance.
Well said. May I quote you, Holmes?
Indeed, Watson, indeed. Seven-letter word rhymes with carob. Well, what brings you to our humble abode on this cold and windy morning, Inspector Gregson?
I'm certain it's not for Mrs. Hudson's tea and crumpets.
Likely not.
It's murder, gentlemen. A very troubling murder.
How unfortunate. Please, tell me everything.
The chief accountant for the Bank of England, Oswald Mason, was found murdered at his home at 10 o'clock last evening by his wife. He seems to have been a simple, hard-working man, and on the surface there seems to be no motive.
Well, what about the Yard? I can't believe Scotland Yard has exhausted all its resources. Why are they turning to me?
I am here at the request of the Exchequer. It seems that Mr. Mason was doing some important work for the Treasury, and the Chancellor wants to make sure that this gentleman's death has nothing to do with the work he was involved in.
Have you any evidence that the murder is related to the Treasury matter?
No. I tried to convince the Chancellor that unless some new evidence turns up, it looks as if Mason's death was just another commonplace murder that the Yard can solve.
Holmes always says there's nothing so unnatural as the commonplace.
You learn well, Watson. Ah! Yeah. And as soon as I finish this vexatious crossword puzzle, I shall look into the matter.
I just can't imagine why anyone would want to do such a thing. Oswald Mason was so well liked by all of his fellow workers here at the bank.
How long was he employed here, Mr. Kimball?
More than 15 years. He'd always been one of our most trusted employees.
What do you know about his work with the Treasury?
Very little. One of our responsibilities is to oversee government audits. This was Oswald's area of responsibility. This work is highly confidential. I only know that he was working for the Chancellor of the Exchequer. You'll have to talk to the Governor, Lionel Foxcroft, if you have questions about this. I'm sorry, that's all I know.
May we examine his office?
I suppose that would be acceptable. I am planning to have his secretary, Mrs. Mabel Brown, sort through his papers, but under the circumstances, I gave her the day off.
Here's Mr. Mason's bank statement. It appears that on April 4th he drew a personal cheque for £240.
Look, Holmes, passages for 2 to Greece from Aberdeen Navigation, purchased the 28th of March. Oh, and here's another receipt from Evanson and Company gift shop for 2 statues, dated the 31st.
Here's a bill from the Langham Hotel for £3.06.
What do you suppose we're to make of all of this, Holmes?
I'm not yet sure, Watson.
How can I help you, gentlemen?
We understand you were informed of Mr. Mason's death.
Yes. Mr. Kimball gave me the bad news this morning.
Can you think of any reason why anyone would want to murder Mr. Mason?
Oh, no. He was such a nice man. He was tremendously well liked by everyone at work. And he and Mrs. Mason have been so very kind to me ever since my husband died at sea 3 years ago. Why, they've almost been like a family to me. Last week for my birthday, they gave me a lovely little statue. Oh.
There, Mrs. Brown.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about when I came home from work late last night. My little birthday statue had fallen onto the floor and was broken into bits. It was almost as if it was an omen.
Perhaps we should go, Holmes.
Good thinking, Watson.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. It's just that this is all so very difficult.
You told us quite enough, Mrs. Brown. We'll just show ourselves out.
Stiff upper lip.
I still don't understand what possessed the Exchequer to bring you in on this investigation. We've got it all under control.
As always, I'm sure you do. So, Inspector, what happened as you see it?
Typical breaking and entering. Entry was made through an upstairs bedroom window, which was forced open. Then, thinking that the house was empty, the intruder made his way downstairs. He opened the study door and came face to face with Mr. Mason. A fight ensued which resulted in Mason's death, and the murderer fled through the study window.
Was anything taken?
Nothing. The jewelry and heirlooms all accounted for.
What about the government papers Mason was working on that night?
We sent them to the Treasury. They're all accounted for as well.
Well, I'm curious to know your theory as to a motive for the crime, Inspector.
Motive? Well, we haven't quite got there yet, but I'll let you know just as soon as we discover it.
I understand you're looking into Oswald's death.
Yes, and I'd be interested to know who you think killed him.
I haven't the foggiest notion. He was a nice man, and I can't imagine anyone who would want to murder him.
I understand Mr. Mason was working on a special assignment at the Treasury.
Yes.
Do you suppose there's any connection to be found there?
Not likely. Very few people were even aware of Mason's involvement in the investigation.
Who were they?
To my knowledge, there were only 2, Sir Adrian Momquist of the Treasury and myself.
What was Mason working on?
It's rather complicated. To understand what was involved, you must understand that the history of the bank financially is, for all intents and purposes, nothing more than the history of the bank rate. And that's what this whole investigation is concerned with. Since the Bank Act of 1844...
Pardon me, Mr. Foxcroft. I do believe that's all we need to know. You have, however, been most informative.
Oswald Mason purchased 2 tickets on the Grecian Queen, departing April 21st, bound for Athens. Sounds like a lovely trip, doesn't it?
Without a doubt.
Perhaps someday I'll take it myself.
Sir Adrian, we are investigating the murder of Oswald Mason.
Capable fellow. Bloody inconvenient, this murder.
Inconvenient?
Mason was to have a report for me, dealing with some rather embarrassing irregularities.
Do you feel that his death might have anything to do with his work here at the Treasury?
Well, the investigation was dealing with some rather large sums of money. But a murder, it doesn't make any sense. It won't stop the investigation, only delay it. Besides, all of Mason's papers were accounted for.
What was the nature of Mr. Mason's investigation?
Well, as you know, the Exchequer is responsible for the financial well-being of the Empire. We've relied on Bacon & Company to handle many of our investments. Do you know them?
They are one of the largest investment houses in London.
Yes. And 6 months ago, it came to our attention that they are in deep financial straits. They are not in possession of sufficient liquid assets to meet their current liabilities. They had invested in too many securities that were weighing down the London stock market. So, Her Majesty's government and Lionel Foxcroft, the Governor of the Bank of England, guaranteed to cover the discredited securities. But when we audited their books, we discovered they had invested in far more securities than they were reporting. Over £1,300,000 worth.
So Mr. Mason was attempting to trace the additional securities?
Exactly.
Have you any idea who is doing the embezzling?
There's little doubt that Bacon & Company's directors, Michael Essex and Mitchell York, were hoping to profit while England slept.
Excuse me, madam. We're investigating the murder of Oswald Mason, and we understand your company may be involved in an audit that
Stop right there. You may save your breath. Our solicitors have advised us not to speak to anyone regarding this audit matter, so mum's the word.
But I merely wanted to know...
I said you can save your breath, sir.
What do you know of the Mason case, Ellis?
Oh, the accountant chap, right. And some of the fellows in the office here were gabbing about some work he was doing for the government.
Do they believe it was related to his death?
Not at all. Evidently, he wasn't working on anything worth killing him over. It was only some paperwork that any other accountant could do if Mason died.
Oh, pity, you just missed him. Mr. York went to France today. He's on holiday.
Standing guard, Constable Parks?
Yes, sir, Mr. Holmes. Waiting for the yard to make its final inspection, so I'm making certain everything stays just the way I found it last night.
Where was the body found?
Sprawled across the desk it was. You can see the blood stain on the top. The blighter put up quite a fight, I must say.
How was he killed?
Head was bashed in by a statue.
Is there any indication how the murderer got in?
Looks like the upstairs window. It showed signs of forced entry.
And it appears that this is where he exited. There's a palm print and plaster residue.
Yes, and there are pieces of plaster shards in a pile on the floor. Was it you who found the body, Constable?
No, it was his wife. She came home from her sister's and that's when she found him. I was on my nightly rounds and heard her screaming. Then I came in and I saw this mess. I covered up the stiff and promptly had him sent over to Bart's. Then I gathered up the man's papers and took them to the yard.
What about the murder weapon?
Oh, yes. I had that sent over to Murray at the lab.
Where is Mrs. Mason now?
She was taken to her sister Dahlia's. Dahlia Farmer.
We're terribly sorry about your loss, Mrs. Mason.
There, dear sister.
We know this may be difficult, but we need to hear about last night's events if we're to catch your husband's killer.
Yes, I know. Well, I was here last night for her weekly whist game.
She comes every Thursday.
Oswald stayed home and worked on some papers from the office.
The man had been working very hard lately.
Was he expecting visitors while you were gone?
No, I don't think so. I returned home at 10 o'clock and went into the study and... You tell him, Delia.
The place was in shambles. Furniture overturned, books strewn about, and in the middle of it all was my poor Oswald.
Ghastly. Who could possibly have wanted to hurt him?
I can't imagine. He was the dearest man in all the world. Why, only last week he bought me a Venus de Milo replica for our anniversary and promised me a special trip. I imagine it was Paris because we went there on a honeymoon where we saw the original Venus. When I saw that statue broken into pieces,
I think that's quite enough for one day, Dr. Watson.
Of course.
Mrs. Small, we are interested in obtaining information about the Venus de Milo statues that your company manufactures.
I must say, that certainly has become quite a popular item lately.
We understand they're smashing.
That is precisely what a nice gentleman said when he came in on Wednesday. He didn't mention his name, but he did say that he had a shop in Southampton. He purchased our last 5 and wanted to know where he could get more. I told him the rest had been sold to other shops. He wanted their names, and so I gave them to him.
And who might they be? I wouldn't mind picking up one myself. I've always admired the Venus de Milo.
Evanson and Company, and the gift shop at the British Museum.
How long have you manufactured these particular statues?
My late husband made up 15 of them 3 years ago, but he refused to sell them.
Late? So sorry. When did he die?
A fortnight ago.
Oh, my.
Don't lose any sleep over it, gentlemen. My husband was not a very reputable man. The only person who probably truly missed him after his death was the barman at the Red Bull Inn.
Excuse me, I'm eager to see one of your Venus de Milo statues.
So sorry, sir, we sold out of them yesterday.
Do you have the names of the customers?
No, it was just one woman. She bought all 5. Said her name was Mrs. Smith. I am certain I've seen her on stage before, although not under that name. For the life of me, I can't remember what her real name is.
So it's violet blue you're looking for? Cool, what a beauty. I've always considered her to be the 8th wonder of the world. Are you a fan?
Not yet, but I thought I might catch her on stage tonight.
I'm afraid you're out of luck. She was ill yesterday and won't be in tonight either. Central Gamble's on stage in her place. Of course, she don't have quite the vocal range that Violet has, but I think you'll agree she's a real fetcher. You ought to catch the act.
Oh, thank you. If I can't find a good book to pick up tonight, then perhaps I will. We're investigating the murder of Mr. Oswald Mason.
I can assure you, you'll not find any murderers here, sir.
Good heavens, if it were only that simple. No, you see, among Mr. Mason's papers was a receipt from this shop dated 31 March. Do you have a record of what he purchased?
Well, let me see. Ah, here you are. Well, the man did have a sense of the popular. He purchased 2 Venus de Milo statues. It appears we delivered them both for him.
Might you tell me where they were sent?
One to Rose Mason at his home address. The other to a Mabel Brown on Tottenham. Oh, do you suppose he was having a dalliance?
This time I'm not supposing anything. By the way, I do so adore the Venus de Milo. I might be interested in purchasing one of my own.
Sorry, haven't a one. Sold the last 3 to another gentleman on Wednesday.
Pity.
Perhaps I can get more from the manufacturer.
Who might that be?
J. Small and Company. Have you heard of them?
The name does sound familiar, but I'm not sure. Thank you for your time, Mrs. Billingsley. Good day.
Johnny Small. I guess there's no harm in talking about him now. Oh, he was a wild one, he was. No surprise that he came to such a violent end. I've always wondered where he came up with the money for that ceramic shop of his. There were tales about the Drummond Bank robbery and other heists. But I tell you, I don't know much about that. I do know that Johnny wasn't always on the right side of the law. But he was a good bloke. He took care of his mates. The word on the street is that his wife did him in with poison.
Be careful, Ducky. Don't be tracking dirt into me house.
Believe me, madam, I wouldn't dare. I'm here because I understand Mrs. Small is one of your tenants.
She is indeed, but she's over to a shop right now. Ever since her no-good husband's dead, she's taking care of the business. Not that that salt would help her in the first place. He was always coming home drunk, beating on her, after spending all his time down at the pub with those bums, while she took care of everything.
So, you want to know about Violet Blue? Well, for starters, I think you'll agree my voice has a much wider range than hers.
Yes, that's lovely, Miss Gamble, but I'm not a booking agent, I'm a detective. I'm here to find out what you know of Miss Blue's history.
Yes, of course. Well, Violet and I were roommates. She was looking for someone to share her lodgings. You see, her fiancé had been arrested, and she took it quite hard. And then her career took off, and she got me the job as an understudy in this review. I just know it will be my big break.
I do hope she's not too ill.
Ill? Heavens, no. Her fiancé just got out of Millbank prison 2 days ago, and she wanted to spend some time with him. Oh, dear. Perhaps I shouldn't have said that. She told the manager she was ill. Oh, you won't repeat that, will you?
Your secret is safe with me, madam. By the way, what was the name of Miss Blue's fiancé?
Errol Hawke.
I've rung the bell a half-dozen times and no one has come to the door.
Really, Watson? Next time I would appreciate it if you would thoroughly research your leads before you ask me to come along.
I'm investigating the murder of Mr. Oswald Mason.
What a tragic ending to such a noble life. You know, he often rented our conference rooms for his business meetings.
Oh, I see. Excuse me, Mr. Murray.
Ah, Whitson, what can I do for you?
It's Watson, sir.
I don't believe I've ever worked on a case by the name of Watson.
No, I mean the name... Never mind. Well, then what about the Mason murder?
Mason, I know. It looks like he was killed by David.
David? You mean you know the murderer?
No, not the murderer. The murder weapon. This is David. It's a copy of a very early Michelangelo. You can see the blood stains here. I believe this was one of 2 statues on the fireplace mantel. Apparently, the intruder grabbed this one and killed Mason in the struggle. It's a handsome piece, isn't it?
She's not in, Governor.
I can see that, Mr. Kent. What a sight. What a pity to see so many lovely ladies turned to fragments and dust. The British Museum.
Well, she might be a bit untidy, but she is a woman of culture, she is.
Yes, I can see that. Do you know where I could find Miss Blue?
Left about 20 minutes ago with a young gent. In quite a hurry, I'd say. I was loading their luggage in the 4-wheeler and I heard the bloke tell the cabbie to head over to Waterloo Station.
Thanks, Alfie. Much obliged. Perhaps I'll hold on to these for evidence.
Oh! Top of the morning to you.
Good morning, Constable Parks. I'm looking for this woman.
Violet Blue. What a lady. I've seen her perform almost every Saturday night for a year. In fact, she just left on a train with a gentleman. You can't imagine what a thrill it was to see her.
Do you know where the train was headed?
I couldn't tell you, Mr. Holmes. You know, I had no idea you were as much of a fan as I.
Well, look who's here. The only doctor in London who may know more about murder than I. Who is it this time, Watson?
Mr. Oswald Mason.
Did in this morning, right after my first cup of tea. His body arrived at the hospital at midnight, midnight, 11 April. He was in his early 40s and in very good health. Or should I say in very good health, but also very dead.
An unfortunate combination, to be sure.
I've always thought so. The fellow's death was caused by a blow to the side of his head by a heavy blunt object, and under his fingernails I discovered blood of a different type than his own. Looks like he put up a fight. Nothing very exciting or informative, I'm afraid.
Oh, Holmes, my man, how's the world treating you?
Just fine, Porky, just fine, but it hasn't treated a man named Oswald Mason at all well. He was murdered last night. Have you heard anything about it?
Not a whisper. Must not have involved any of the chaps what hang about here.
Venus de Milo is probably the most admired of all surviving sculptural works of antiquity. Oh, I heartily agree.
Read on.
Of course. Experts generally agree it is a Greek marble from the 4th or 5th century BC. Found on the island of Milos in 1820, it was taken by the French ambassador to Constantinople and eventually presented to the Louvre by Louis XVIII. It remains there to this day. Oh, it would be a thrill to see it, wouldn't it, Holmes?
Perhaps.
I'm sorry, but Nat Cook doesn't wish to see you. I hope you understand, but I can't force him.
That's quite all right. I wouldn't care to be responsible for causing the upset of a hardened criminal. Perhaps you can tell me a bit about him.
Nat Cook hasn't been a spot of trouble since he's been here. Keeps to himself, really. But it must make prison life a lot easier to take, knowing you've got £100,000 worth of diamonds waiting for you on the outside.
However did he come upon such incredible wealth?
The DeVries diamond robbery.
Oh, yes, I recall. They were never recovered. Do you suppose he confided their whereabouts to anyone?
Oh, like I said, he didn't talk much. The only confidant he ever had was his cellmate, who was released on Monday.
And who might that be?
A fellow by the name of Errol Hawke. And you should have seen the lady friend he left with. Got all the guards' knickers in a knot, she did. Acted like they'd never seen a woman before. But she was a looker. And I heard tell she could sing like an angel.
I will never forget that dreadful day. Well, it only took 15 minutes and the diamonds were gone. We still haven't recovered from the loss.
Weren't you insured?
Oh, yes, of course, but no amount of money can replace the loss of these particular gems. I mean, each one possessed a soul of its own. They were a masterpiece of nature. When those three men took them, I am quite certain they didn't know that they were stealing a piece of my soul as well.
How terribly sad. You mentioned three men, Mrs. Nibbs. Who other than Cook was involved?
Oh, if I only knew. You see, they were wearing masks at the time, so I couldn't tell. But I don't miss a thing, Dr. Watson. I was able to identify Cook because he removed his mask as he exited the shop. Oh, there were other suspects. Friends of Cook, but no one was ever found. And as long as Cook remains mum, the others remain free.
Speaking of mysteries, what are you and Holmes working on?
The murder of Oswald Mason.
Don't know a thing about it. Let me know if I should look into it.
Will do, Quinn.
Oswald and Rose Mason were, how do I put it delicately, the most boring couple in London. Mrs. Mason was a thoroughly mediocre whist player, and Oswald rarely showed his face at social functions. In that regard, we should count ourselves fortunate. He was a dismal conversationalist and laughed at all the wrong jokes. I can't imagine the man inspiring anyone to murder. Here's the file you requested. Once again, you beaten Scotland Yard to the punch. I haven't seen them around here for weeks.
Jonathan Small, convicted of selling stolen goods in 1880, served 6-month prison term. Cited on public drunkenness and disturbing the peace in 1885, 1886, and twice in 1882. Suspect in Drummond Bank robbery, 1886, along with Leroy Eakin, not brought to trial. Suspect in a diamond robbery in 1887 along with Nat Cook. Not enough evidence to bring Small to trial. Cook was convicted of the crime and is awaiting release from Millbank Prison.
They called themselves the Three Musketeers. Johnny Small, Leroy Eakin, and Nat Cook. We used to think of them as petty criminals. No one took them seriously until a few major robberies 3 or 4 years ago. They were among the prime suspects, but there was insufficient evidence for a conviction or even an arrest. Then Cook was caught in a jewel heist and the gang broke up.
What of the others?
I haven't seen either one of them since.
I'm sorry, but Mr. Dixon is in conference. May I be of service?
Indeed you may. We understand that Mr. Dixon has been retained in the case of Bacon and Company, and we would like to know when it might be convenient to ask him a few questions.
Never. We have nothing to say regarding that matter. Now I must ask you to leave. Good day.
Mr. Essex, I understand Mr. Oswald Mason was working on an audit of Bacon and Company at the time of his death, and I would like to ask you a few questions about your company.
I don't have anything to say to you. You can take your questions to my barrister, Charles Dixon. Please leave.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court stands in order. A pleasure to see you. I understand you are here to solve the Oswald Mason murder case. Most vexing indeed. So tell me, who was the murderer? Please choose from either your notebook or the directory. Positively correct. Now tell the court, why did he do it? How right you are! Now, what of Mason's work with the Treasury? What bearing did that have on this case? Quite so. Now tell us, what role did Violet Blue have in this crime? Flawless deduction! Now tell us how Errol Hawke knew that Mrs. Rose Mason and Mrs. Mabel Brown were in possession of the Venus statues. Very commendable detective work. You have done an exemplary job. The court is recessed. Until next time, of course.
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. If we had been top-notch, we should have cracked this case in less points. I think I'll ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course. Well, Holmes, here it is in this morning's Times. Murder solved, diamonds found, Hawke and famous singer arrested. They caught them just as they were boarding the boat for the continent.
It does surprise me that for once Lestrade acted so quickly. After I advised him I'd solved the murder, he rung up his contacts in Dover immediately. It was they who assisted us in closing the final chapter of this case.
Do unravel this one for me, will you, Holmes?
Well, I'm surprised you don't know all the details yourself. You were the one to discover many of the critical clues.
Perhaps, but you tell it so well.
Why, thank you, Watson. It goes like this. The minute Nat Cook heard of the death of his partner, Jonathan Small, he knew he needed to do something to protect the Venus statues from being sold or destroyed. So he confided in his cellmate, Errol Hawke, who was due to be released in 9 days.
How convenient to have a cellmate that was willing to assist him.
But whether or not Hawke planned to split the spoils with Cook, we don't know. We do know that he intended to share them with his lady friend, Miss Violet Blue. In any event, the day after Hawke was released, he went to J. Small and Company.
Only to find that only 5 of the original 15 statues remained. He purchased those 5 and learned from Mrs. Small where the others had been sold.
I thought I was telling this one, Watson.
Of course. So sorry.
No harm done. So, after Hawke and Violet broke the 5 statues into pieces in vain, Hawke devised a scheme to track down the others. His first stop was Evanson and Company gift shop, where he purchased the 3 Venus statues still in stock and learned that the other 2 had been sold. Unable to convince the shop manager to release the names of the other purchasers,
he broke into the shop that night and took down the names and addresses of Mrs. Oswald Mason and Mrs. Mabel Brown from the register.
Go ahead. You tell it, Watson.
Oh, no. Do continue, Holmes.
Fine. That evening, he entered the Mason home through the upstairs bedroom window. He encountered Oswald Mason in the study and a fight ensued. Then, with a swift blow to the head with the statue, not the Venus, he murdered Mr. Mason. He quickly broke open Mason's Venus, discovered that there were no diamonds, and heard the sound of Mrs. Mason returning home. He therefore made a fast retreat through the study window and went to Mabel Brown straight away. Mercifully, he found no one at home. He located her facsimile of the Venus de Milo, smashed it there, and again he found he'd been foiled.
Then, the next morning, Hawke purchased the 5 pieces from the museum shop, hurried to Violet Blue's flat, and began demolishing the statues.
And as you've no doubt surmised, the diamonds were in the
3rd of the 5 museum pieces.
You always have had a knack for mathematics, Watson.
Thank you, Holmes. Oh, so it would appear that Scotland Yard was correct in its conclusion that the murder was unrelated to Mr. Mason's treasury assignment.
Yes. Unfortunately, they missed the obvious fact that it was only the Venus for which the burglar had come.
Case closed, Holmes?
Unless you have something more to add, Watson?
Not a thing, Holmes. Crossword?
Yes.
Lovely, aren't they?
the spot.
Why have you come, Inspector Gregson?
Surely they serve tea at Scotland Yard.
Oh, so sorry. I'm here on behalf of Inspector Lestrade. You see, he needs a little help.
Lestrade? Asking for our help?
He's at his wit's end.
He didn't travel far to arrive there.
Pardon me, sir.
Never mind. What sort of assistance does he require?
He'd like you to solve the Thames Murders.
No, I've been following that one in the London Times. 4 bodies found floating in the river over the last week.
5, Dr. Watson. Roland Jacquard was found under the Charing Cross footbridge early this morning.
The stepson of Lord Astley Denham?
That's the chap.
From my understanding, his was a reputation as a mountebank and a ne'er-do-well.
From what I hear, he spent most of his days at the card tables of the Bagatelle Card Club. He was one of the finest whist players in London.
And his nights?
Spent in the drawing rooms and often bedrooms of some of the best families in London.
You mean he was a womanizer?
Well, he wasn't a travelling chambermaid, Watson. What of the other murders, Inspector? Any progress there?
No, but Lestrade is still working on the case.
Oh, that fills me with confidence.
Yes, me too, Mr. Holmes. Well, I must be off. Thank you so much for your assistance.
Before you go, Gregson, do you have the other victims' names?
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Here they are, Mr. Holmes, along with the dates of the murders. I'll slip them right inside your notebook.
I would appreciate it, Inspector. No doubt they will prove useful.
Always thinking, Mr. Holmes, always thinking.
I'm usually quite fastidious, but I left everything as I found it this morning. Oh, that poor man.
Did you see Mr. Jacquard last night?
No, lovey, I went home early after leaving dinner out for him and a guest, as he asked.
Interesting.
What is it, Holmes?
A Mauser T11 and a Lancashire pistol. Lancashire has been recently fired. 3 shots.
And the Mauser?
Not in the last day or so.
Mr. Jacquard was quite the gun collector, I can assure you.
Well, Watson, here we have letters of credit totaling thousands of pounds.
My word. And I have merely found his wallet with £140 and a recent playbill from the Elephant and Castle Theatre.
Do you know who Mr. Jacquard was entertaining last night?
No, I don't, Ducky. But I did see something strange this morning. The Persian rug is missing from that corner of the room. I don't know why anyone would want to steal a rug.
Do you know anyone else who might be able to shed light on this?
You might try nosy Mrs. Ivory next door. She's always in everybody's business.
I see and hear everything. Last night I stayed up late reading Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. I just couldn't put it down. When at about 12:30, a woman came running out of Mrs. Jacquard's house and got into a passing hansom. Then, about an hour later, a delivery wagon pulled up to Jacquard's house. A man went to the door, and a few minutes later, 2 men came out carrying a rug.
A rug?
Well, that's what it looked like to me. They put it in the wagon and then drove away.
Do you recall what they looked like, Mrs. Ivory?
No, it was too dark. But I do recall what it said on the delivery wagon.
Excellent work. What was it?
Landmark Limited. Would you like to stay for tea?
That's very kind, Mrs. Ivory, but I must be going. I have a murder to solve.
Pity.
I could find a criminal record on only one of the murder victims.
Who was it, O'Brien?
Cyril Maud. As you probably found out at the yard, he has a long record. The only thing that looks strange is that within 2 years he was arrested 3 times for violent crimes, and each case was dismissed for lack of evidence. He had the same co-defendant every time, one Curtis Twiggs.
Fascinating.
Well, Watson, what did you discover in Maud's room?
Nothing much of interest. A Spartan bed and an old sea chest with several articles inside.
Such as?
200 pounds cash, box of Mauser 11mm shells, and a Webley revolver.
And you call that nothing much of interest?
Oh, did I say that? So sorry. We are looking for Curtis Twiggs.
He's not here. Gave up his room 4 days ago.
Do you know where he went?
No. He just left a bag with me. Said he'd be back for it. Didn't say when.
Can we see the bag?
For a few quid, perhaps. Now don't take nothing. That Twig, he's a bad man. He'd kill me, he would.
We won't take anything, we just want to look.
What have you discovered, Holmes?
One gold watch with the initial CA engraved on the back. Several pieces of jewelry, rings. 2 wallets with identification in the names of Charles Attard and Nathan Revell. And a 7-inch stiletto with a pearl handle.
Okay, you've looked enough, I think.
Yes. I believe you are right.
Ellis is in France, but he left you a telegram, Holmes.
Let's have a look. Paris, June 4th, 1890. Arrived Paris, June 1st. Moran on the same train. Yesterday saw Moran and Moriarty with Giraud. Signed Ellis. Oh, I shudder to imagine those 3 scoundrels keeping company.
I'm Jeanette Rooker, Charles' sister. I've come to collect this box. You see, about 2 years ago, Charles gave me instructions that upon his death I was to collect it and hold it until it was called for.
By whom, Mrs. Rooker?
I don't know. Charles said they would have a letter from him, and whoever showed it to me was to receive the box.
Do you know what's in it?
I did just look now. Nothing much of interest, really. Just files filled with a variety of financial records.
Did you notice if anything was marked on the files?
Yes, Lindsay and Company. They were filled with securities and bonds. I don't know what to make of it.
Nor do I. Do you mind if I take those papers to Sherlock Holmes for closer study?
No, I'm sorry. I did make a promise to my brother. And now I really must return home. Good day.
Mrs. Shepherd, I'd like to ask you a few questions about your son Leo's death.
How many times do I have to tell you people Leo's not dead? That big baboon-faced Inspector Lestrade scared me after death, he did. Coming here to tell me my son was dead, dragged me down to Bart's to look at this big ugly guy. Made my flesh creep, it did. But my son's at sea. I've been for 4 weeks. Had his wallet stolen before he left, and they found it on the stiff. I don't know why that police inspector refused to believe me, but in my opinion, he was as dense as the dead man.
I'm sorry to have bothered you, Mrs. Shepherd.
Well, I should hope so.
My stepson was not welcome in this house. He was a no-good monkeyman. A no-good...
Astley, dear.
Quiet, darling. I'll handle this. He spent all of his time in card rooms and bedrooms. I threw him out of the house 6 years ago and haven't seen him since. The only question I have is why someone hasn't killed him before this.
Oh, Astley!
I'm afraid you'll have to leave. You're upsetting my wife.
But Astley, I'm not...
Quiet, darling. I'll handle this. I tried to make a man of him, but couldn't. Perhaps if he'd gone grouse hunting with me in Scotland, I could have. You must leave now. Good day.
Good day.
I've been thinking it over, Holmes, and I've decided that I don't need outside help. The case is progressing adequately, and you are dismissed.
Sorry, Inspector, but one should never begin to eat from a plate if one has no intention of finishing the meal. I have no choice but to continue.
You are as persistent as a gnat. I'll give you my report, but please take it and leave. That's odd. I saw it here this morning.
You've misplaced the report, Inspector?
Sorry.
Heard anything about the Thames Murders?
Well, two of the victims was regulars here. Cyril Maud and Curtis Twiggs.
Twiggs?
Yeah, Twiggs. The one the police identified as Leo Shepherd. Twiggs and Maud were partners, part of the Moriarty gang. Word had it that they were Moran's strong-arm boys. Twiggs was the knife man, and Maud was a deadly aim with a pistol. Together, they made quite a mean pair.
Any word on why they were murdered?
No, nothing. Although, after the murder, word had it that Moran wanted to find Twiggs. No reason, but then Moran don't have to give one.
When did you last see them?
The night Maud was murdered. He and Twiggs were sitting here, drinking their dinners. Around 8 o'clock, Moran comes in, talks to them, and leaves. Maud checks over his pistol, they drained their pints, and dashed off.
Nathan Revell and Mr. Jacquard are both members at the club. Nathan and I are partners and frequently played against Jacquard and his partner, Moran.
Sebastian Moran?
Yes.
How well did the two of you meet their challenge?
It's hard to believe, but at first we won. They're two of the best players at the club. But then our luck changed. We couldn't win no matter how good the cards were.
Did they cheat?
Cheat? Of course not. Club members are gentlemen.
Did you have a wager on the game, Mr. Adair?
A small one. A pound or two, nothing important.
And Revell?
I don't know.
When did you last see Revell?
The night before he died. We were playing against Jacquard and Moran till midnight. We didn't win a game all night. Nathan seemed upset. He and Moran seemed to have a bit of a disagreement.
What about the night Revell was murdered?
I had a drink here with Moran. He said he was waiting for Nathan. When he didn't show, he got upset. He waited till a little before 8 and then left. He told me if Nathan stopped by to tell him to meet him at the Tankerville.
When was the last time you saw Jacquard?
Last night about 8:30. He'd been here since 4:30. He received a postal telegram. After reading it, he jumped from his chair saying he had unexpected business.
Have you seen Moran lately?
Not for the last few days. I understand he's on the continent.
The room is as neat as a pin. Exactly the way Mr. Revell left it.
Do you know how he spent his time?
Well, he worked during the days and he spent most of his evenings at some club. He did drop down to my place occasionally for an hand of whist now and again. He loved that game. I still can't believe that he's gone. I don't know what the world is coming to when a man that's as kind and unassuming as Mr. Revell can't walk the streets without being murdered.
It is a sad state of affairs.
Oh, that's right. I must remember to get that window fixed.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, just talking to myself. I noticed that there was a window broken. It must have happened when Mr. Revell was trying to close it. This creaky old house has the stickiest windows.
When was it broken?
I haven't the foggiest. I noticed it was broken when I was showing the room to the police the day after the murder. I'd forgotten all about it.
Do you recall if Roland Jacquard had dinner here on the evening of May 30th?
He arrived at 7:30 p.m. and was joined by Mrs. Kathleen Lindsay. He ordered a bottle of Grole Rose, 76, to accompany their duck.
I'm not interested in what they ate, but I am curious to know when they left.
They left at midnight.
Did anyone else join them?
Colonel Sebastian Moran at 9:10. He had one drink with them and left at 9:45.
Was that the last time you saw Jacquard?
No. The last time I saw Mr. Jacquard was June 1. He spent most of the afternoon in the game room, came into the dining room around 8:30. He had dinner alone and left at 9:30.
Thank you. This has been most illuminating.
I suppose I must have been blind not to see it, Mr. Holmes. But it appears Mr. Ravel has embezzled over £6,000 of negotiable securities and letters of credit.
How did he manage to accomplish that, Mr. Patterson?
I don't know. Trust and secrecy are crucial in our firm. No one but my partner and I know our clients' portfolios. Ravel would have had to request each security by number from the right bank. So far, securities have been found missing from 3 banks.
Your partner is Mr. Lindsay?
No, he died 4 years ago. His wife, Kathleen, owns his shares, but does not actively participate in the business. My partner's name is Jeffrey Farber, but what does this have to do with anything? All I hope is that you may shed some light on this crime, Mr. Holmes.
This has all been very difficult. You see, I knew 3 of the victims. Charles Atchard was my solicitor, Roland Jacquard a friend, and Nathan Ravel worked for my late husband's firm, Lindsay and Company. For the life of me, I can't imagine why anyone would want to kill them.
Did the victims know one another, Mrs. Lindsay?
Roland and Charles were friends. In fact, Roland introduced me to Charles. I suppose Charles must have met Ravel when he went to the firm to handle my business affairs, but he never mentioned it. I don't think Roland knew Ravel at all. I can't imagine how he would.
Mr. Jacquard was a good customer, a collector of handguns. He wasn't shot, was he?
No.
Good. Bad for business to have one's customers die from gunshots. What do you need to know?
The purchases he's made from you over the past year.
Let me check my sales books. Here we are. On the 7th of March of this year, he had a special order. A .30 caliber La Fourchaux pistol. Nice little French beauty. Before that, he bought an American-made pepper box, and we sent it at his request to Charles Attard.
I'm interested in a Mauser T11.
Got one right here. We are the only shop in London that carries this little beauty. It takes an 11mm cartridge that's guaranteed to stop an elephant. You planning a safari then?
Oh, good heavens, no. I'm investigating a murder. Might you tell me how many have been sold?
2. One to Ralph Chambers, the big game hunter, on the 10th of May. Yves Metier bought the other one on the 19th of May.
By any chance, do you know Roland Jacquard?
Gun collector. Met him once or twice. He took his business to the Grand Arms Company. Didn't sit right with him buying guns from a lady.
The Mauser T11? No, sir, we don't stock it.
Do you know who does?
Try M. Richards. You might have some luck there.
Sugar?
No, thank you.
Roland Jacquard was such a cad. Half the husbands in London gave a sigh of relief at his demise, and all the women cried. And you know his skill at the card tables was legendary.
Did he cheat?
Only if he had to. You see, he had the great skill of convincing you that you were the better player. And it was only the luck of the cards that was against you.
Who were his romantic interests, Pike?
Well, Roland's love life was on the wane. Most of his attention was going to Letitia Garcia, the actress. But I believe it was one of those classic cases where he was in love with someone he ultimately couldn't have. Of course, he was still seeing Linda Randolph.
The wife of the shipping tycoon.
Ooh, you do keep up on your gossip. I'm pleased. As I'd heard there'd been some very unpleasant episodes between Vincent and Roland. And he was still seeing Kathleen Lindsay, but I don't think there was anything between them but friendship.
Do you know Charles Attard?
That pettifogger? A friend of Roland's. I don't know what Roland saw in him. He was no more than a bug blighting the earth.
I'm terribly sorry, but the Randolphs left 2 weeks ago for a round-the-world cruise.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It is. At last I have the house to myself. Good day.
Miss Garcia, I know this must be difficult for you.
Roland, God, and I were very good friends. We had fun together. I know nothing about his death.
When did you last see him?
2 days ago.
Think hard, Miss Garcia. Who might have wanted him dead?
I told you, I don't know anything about it, and I mean it. Now leave me alone at once.
I see.
I've just spent a grueling day at the Bank of England and Drummond's trying to determine the extent of the loss Mr. Ravel has caused our firm.
How do you suppose he managed it?
It was so simple. Once he knew the accounts and their account numbers, it was only a matter of transferring the money into letters of credit, or any account he chose.
How did he learn the account numbers?
Now, that's the mystery. Neil Patterson and myself are the only ones who have access to that information.
Is there no one else?
There's Mrs. Lindsay, but all of her dealings with the firm are handled through a solicitor, Charles Abad.
Abad? Do you mean Attard?
Oh, yes, that's the chap.
Sorry, but Mr. Chambers left for Africa 3 weeks ago, so he can add to his collection of dead animal heads on his study wall. Appalling, isn't it?
Indeed.
I believe Attard was in the pay of Moriarty. So he sought not justice, but protection of the underworld from justice. Indeed, I'm afraid you're right, Holmes.
The funny thing about these murders is no one in the underground is talking. Whenever I mention it, they clam up.
Bumbershoots. I can't believe that all that Clark had for me today was a list of all the murder victims' birthdays.
Ridiculous.
I mean, whatever is the point of celebrating the birthdays of dead men?
Well, Watson, what did old H.R. have to say?
Nothing.
Nothing? I'm surprised.
He had nothing to say because he isn't in.
That is unfortunate.
I'm interested in one of your delivery wagons.
Do you need to move a stiff?
No, I'm referring to the fact that one of your wagons was seen last night near Russell Square.
Russell Square? Last night? Damn that Escobedo.
Escobedo?
Juan Escobedo, my worker. I've told him never to take that wagon without telling me.
Are you certain it was he?
I only have one wagon and one employee. I wondered why there was a rug on the back of it this morning. Now it all makes sense.
Do you know where Juan Escobedo is now?
He reported in sick. But if you track him down, tell him he's fired.
What were you doing at Roland Jacquard's house this morning?
I didn't do nothing to nobody. Leave me alone.
Well, you were spotted at the scene of the crime. Did you murder Jacquard?
I didn't murder nobody. It was Marco. Marco, my brother.
Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo, wake up, please.
What do you want? Who are you?
I'm Dr. Watson. I need to ask you a few questions about Roland Jacquard.
I can tell you nothing. I did not even know him.
You know who he was?
Yes. He was ladies' man. He was interested in my lady.
Letitia Garcia.
He did not love her the way I love her. What difference does it make? He's dead. Now go away!
Where were you last night?
At the Ring. Then I go to a restaurant.
Which one?
Spaniards Inn. Then I come home and go to bed. I have a big fight tomorrow. I'm in training. I need my sleep.
Do you know who might have wanted to kill Jacquard?
No. And I don't care. Now go away! I have to get up and go to the gym.
Was Marco Escobedo here for dinner last night?
I suppose, if you can call 6 shots of whiskey dinner.
Oh, I see.
He arrived about 10 o'clock and went straight to the bar and started drinking. Or should I say, continued drinking. He was quite drunk and in a very mean mood.
What time did he leave?
When we closed at midnight. He didn't even leave a tip.
What can you tell me about Marco Escobedo?
I'll tell you, that worthless bum better put up a good fight.
I understand he was here last night working out.
You've got to be joking. He only works out in bars and bedrooms. He hasn't seen the inside of a ring for 4 months.
Meek's assistant said Sir Jasper headed home before anyone dropped off any more dead bodies.
Did he leave any information?
He said he gave it to your street ruffians.
So we've made this trip unnecessarily. Pity. Well, Watson, pray let us continue.
Jolly good idea. The Thames River is the longest and most important waterway in England. Roman writers referred to it as the Thamesis, and the name, meaning broad river, is probably Celtic in origin. The river has been deepened below London Bridge so that the largest ships can reach the docks of London.
Oh, and listen to this, Holmes.
If I must.
It has been said that it is the most important river in the world because it runs liquid history.
At the moment, it is running with the blood of our victims. Let us carry on, shall we, Watson?
Roland Jacquard was here last night. He picked up Letitia.
How serious was the romance between Miss Garcia and Jacquard?
Well, not as serious as Jacquard would have liked. Letitia is a fun-loving girl. She has lots of admirers, and she knows how to take advantage of it.
Do you know who else she was taking her fun with, so to speak?
Well, there are three who come to mind. Jacquard, but I guess we might say he's no longer in the running. Marco Escobedo, the pugilist, who seems particularly smitten with her. And Celeste Ogilvy, who is rather a strange bird.
Do you have any idea who might have wanted to kill Jacquard?
No, sir. I've been studying drama all my life, but I only watch it, mate. I don't write it.
Oh, Letitia mentioned Roland Jacquard a number of times, but I never had the pleasure of meeting him. She is a popular girl. At times, I think she really can't handle it. After all, she is only a child.
What is your relationship with Miss Garcia?
I am like a father figure, someone she can come to when she needs advice, which is often.
What has she told you about Jacquard?
That he wanted to marry her, but she is in love with someone else, a man from her home village. She just isn't ready to give up her freedom, I suppose.
Who is it that she's in love with, Sir Lester?
Marco Escobedo.
Hear ye, hear ye. The Queen's Court stands in order. I understand you're ready to unravel the Thames Murders. A terribly complicated case indeed. Tell me who murdered Nathan Ravel. Please choose from either your notebook or the directory. Positively correct. Now tell the court, why did Maud murder Ravel? So, Maud was merely a henchman. Now, who put an end to his unsavory life? Excellent deduction. Now, why did Twiggs kill Maud? Brilliant reasoning. Now tell the court who murdered Charles Attard. Twiggs was a busy and brutal man, wasn't he? Tell me, why did he do it? I suppose Attard was no match for Twiggs in a gunfight, but clearly someone was. Tell the court who finally murdered Curtis Twiggs. Superb deduction. Now, what was Jacquard's motive? Oh, what a tangled web we weave. Now please tell the court who murdered Roland Jacquard. Bravo! Now, what was Escobedo's motive? Exemplary work on a most difficult case. The court is recessed. Until next time.
My word, dear Holmes. Perhaps we are in the wrong business altogether. If we had been top-notch, we should have cracked this case in less points. I think I'll ring up the university immediately and see if we might enroll in a detective course. Well, Holmes, you've done it again.
Well, I believe we've done it, Watson.
Oh, yes. But the twists and turns of this one still puzzle me. Would you mind...
Elaborating? Not at all. Nathan Ravel was a simple, hard-working fellow whose one passion became his undoing.
Whist?
Indeed. Once he began to play with the likes of Moran and Jacquard, his fate, I'm afraid, was sealed.
Do you suppose he was cheated?
Out of his money and his life. You see, by cheating Ravel at the card table, Moran was able to force him to participate in his scheme to embezzle from Lindsay and Company. And once he had Ravel under his thumb, he enlisted Charles Attard, who was Mrs. Lindsay's lawyer. Through him, he was able to gain access to the firm's confidential records, and thus he had all he needed to execute his embezzlement scheme.
I suppose Mr. Ravel's suicide note would suggest he had a change of heart.
Precisely, Watson. And on the evening he was to take the embezzled securities to Moran, Ravel wrote that suicide note and left the documents in his room for Patterson to find.
So that's how Maud and Twiggs fit in?
Yes. Moran sent them to kill Ravel and retrieve the stolen securities. Maud, the gunman, shot Ravel, and he and Twiggs dropped the body into the Thames. But holding £6,000 was too much temptation for Twiggs. He killed Maud, took the securities and the Mauser T11 and went into hiding.
So then Attard went looking for Twiggs.
And unfortunately for him, he found him. Twiggs killed him with the gun he'd taken from Maud.
What made you first suspect that it was Jacquard that finally put an end to Curtis Twiggs?
I knew from the moment we discovered the securities, the Mauser and the Lafaux show at Jacquard's home. It all fit together, an all too common tale of dishonesty and betrayal. The only thing that didn't fit was the death of Roland Jacquard.
I suppose if he'd been killed for the securities, we wouldn't have found them on his desk, would we?
Very observant, Watson.
You see, this was a death due not to his criminal intrigues, but to his romantic intrigue with one Letitia Garcia. There was another man who believed she belonged to him.
Marco Escobedo?
Yes.
I've always thought it would be rather risky to become romantically involved with a lady friend of a pugilist.
Words to live by, Watson.
I shudder to think what happened that night.
It is a grisly thought, because after Jacquard murdered Twiggs and brought Miss Garcia back to his home, and into his bedroom, I might add, they were interrupted by Escobedo. Judging by the clothing strewn about the room, poor Mr. Jacquard must have been in the nude when Escobedo attacked and murdered him.
That would explain the skivvies.
Or lack thereof. Escobedo must have quickly dressed the body, not showing the same care as the fastidious Jacquard. He then rolled the body up in the bedroom rug and dumped it into the Thames. An ironic resting place, to be sure, since he knew nothing of Jacquard's involvement with the other murders.
Positively brilliant, Holmes.
Elementary, my dear Watson.